to during that time period, as always. So let me just walk you through some of the things that we're expecting in this first hour that we have together. Recently, News and World Report ranked Illinois 47th out of 50 states for nursing home quality and care. Friday, a Cook County jury awarded a Chicago family $12.2 million in damages for what they deemed as negligent nursing care that their mother received at a rehabilitation and nursing center that they say led to her death. It's horrible to hear, but for so many of us, these are tough decisions and a major step when a family member requires more care than what you can personally provide. A part of what makes that such a difficult moment is putting your faith in others to be good actors with the people who you love. So we're going to talk to the attorneys who were able to successfully fight for the family in their time of need. Also, when you think about threats to future elections, many things, of course, come to mind in this day and age. But what about funding? Yeah, the DuPage County clerk says they cannot be expected to run democracy on the cheap. And underfunding, they say, is the biggest issue that they're faced with ahead of people heading to the polls in 2026. So I'm going to be talking to her ahead of a vote on a proposed budget that she says falls millions short of her office's requirements for election necessities such as postage, printing, and operating supplies. And then people across Cook County, of course, are still trying to absorb the initial sticker shock of seeing new property tax bills. So yesterday, if you were here with me, I talked to the county treasurer about the issues behind these massive hikes that so many people got this year. And today, I'm going to be talking with the communications director for the county assessor's office that's now calling for reforms to protect homeowners and raising some alarms about what many see as unfairness of a property tax system that forces reductions in downtown commercial properties to be shouldered by primarily Black and Latino neighborhoods, both in the city and suburbs, as we spoke about with the treasurer's office yesterday. But first, we asked TMZ Sports executive producer Michael Babcock to join me today with former NBA player who did a short stint with the Bulls, Chicago native Patrick Beverley, making news really for all the wrong reasons today. But thank you, Michael, for taking time out for me.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to see you again.
Absolutely. Great to have you here, although I wish that the story was a little better, especially about somebody who's from this area. Detail the allegations against Patrick Beverley for me.
Yeah, it's really a wild story. So the way the story goes is that on November 14th, Patrick Beverley, who has got a younger sister, a 15-year-old sister, well, Patrick Beverley's sister is said to have snuck out of the house to go visit her boyfriend. Now, her boyfriend is either 17 or 18 years old. There's a little dispute about his age. Nonetheless, the story goes that Patrick's sister sneaks out of the house. Now, she returns to the home sometime around 3 in the morning, so early morning hours. When she gets home, her mom has caught her. So her mom is awake. I think if anyone's ever snuck out of the house, maybe we've been there before. And mom's there, and mom is obviously not happy that her daughter just snuck out of the house without her knowing. So what mom does is call Patrick Beverley. Now, Patrick Beverley, who has a place in the area, he's 37 years old, obviously big-time athlete. He comes over to the home, and what sounds like it starts as a stern talking to soon turns into a violent altercation. The way the police say, it turns into a violent altercation where Patrick Beverley is accused of choking his sister for somewhere between 20 and 30 seconds, according to her, where it was so bad that not only was she in pain, but she said that she could not get air. She couldn't breathe. That happens. He also allegedly slammed her into the wall and punched her in the face at least one time. So it was a really violent incident that allegedly takes place. The boyfriend then is called over to the home because Patrick and or mom want to talk to the boyfriend. So the boyfriend comes over. Now, nothing physical allegedly happens with him, but at a certain point, the story goes that this the boyfriend calls the police, and the police respond to the scene. they hear the story, hey, what happened here? And they ultimately take Patrick Beverley and place him in handcuffs and put him under arrest. And now he's facing a felony assault charge that, if ultimately convicted here, could face or could put him behind bars for years.
Yeah, the whole situation is just sad, when anything happens, between family members. And it is a little odd that nothing happened between him and the boyfriend, and that the fact that there's a dispute between the age of 17 and 18 says a lot.
Right. And I think, that could have different implications. One, is it legal for, and I'm not suggesting that anything happened romantically with the sister and the boyfriend, but could that potentially be something that police look at if he is 18 years old? Also, I think to your point, if the boyfriend was 17 years old, then you would have a situation potentially here where Patrick Beverley, an adult, could have, then be getting physical with a child, with a minor. But the boyfriend, again, but to kind of clear all that out, the boyfriend doesn't say anything ever happened physical with him. So it seems Patrick was able to, assuming this is all true, control himself when the boyfriend was there, not so much with his sister. And I think, anyone, if you got a sister, you obviously might understand how you'd be incredibly upset in this situation, but his reaction would seem to go, well beyond anything that would be reasonable.
Yeah, and of course, Patrick is saying, don't believe everything you say, you see online. His attorney says Patrick Beverley has no criminal record. He cares deeply about his little sister, a young lady, a minor, given that when he unexpectedly found her alone in the home with an 18-year-old man in the middle of the night, he was understandably concerned, as any brother would be, about his sister. I think there's much more to come on that. A lot of questions as to what actually did go down, didn't go down, and what will happen next. I mean, does he have a court date already set?
He does. He's actually in court in a couple of hours. So he will be back in court today. And assuming that he's not able or is, even interested in striking some sort of deal with the prosecutors, this thing will eventually be destined for trial. And that's obviously when everything will be laid out there, for the court to decide. And is it the way that the sister tells it? Is it the way that Patrick tells it? I think at some point here in the near future, we will find out.
Yeah, so we've got to sift through all of those details. Hopefully we'll find out more on that. My family woke up this morning talking about Adrian Peterson's latest DWI. I know you all have been following that too.
Yeah. Look, somebody else who is, and look, Patrick Beverley, I wouldn't say has struggled post-NBA life. Like his attorney said, he has never gotten in trouble. Adrian Peterson, rather, has had issues post-career, and he's had multiple DUIs now. And he had one a couple of weeks ago where he was allegedly hanging out at a poker game until very early in the morning, and decided to allegedly drive home, pulled over at a gas station, and fell asleep in his car, only to be woken up by cops banging on the window, keys in the ignition, and them arresting him for driving while intoxicated. So. Not the first retired athlete that has had an issue, but Adrian Peterson sadly has had a few since he retired, and a guy who on the football field was clearly as good as they came.
Stellar.
Right? One of the best ever.
Absolutely. MVP, just all time, just a great, for sure. But 2 DWIs in 1 year, that's a lot. It at least indicates there is an issue there.
Right. The Atlanta one it's still active, and it's going to create a whole host of problems for him to have 2 DWIs at the same time. He may be in some trouble here.
Yeah. Okay, not sports related, but I know TMZ is following a couple of other things I want to ask you about. Where do you all, in your reporting, where does it stand with the Epstein vote that should be happening today?
So, pass. So that doesn't mean Mike Johnson and his people, they did their part here, and that vote is in, and that vote, I think, as expected, it has gone forward now. It does not mean, though, that we're instantly going to get thousands and thousands of Jeffrey Epstein records or lists or emails. There are, before anything would be released, there are going to have to be other votes, other parts of Congress will have to weigh in. But the president does a complete 180 last minute here, last couple of days. He urges Republicans to vote. I don't know if the president had not said that, if we would not still be in the same place here, and that it seemed like there were Republicans who were coming around and who said, I don't care if the president supports this or doesn't, we're going to vote yes. These are documents that need to be exposed. So ultimately, it seems like we are another step closer to getting what everybody seems to want, and that is some sort of Jeffrey Epstein client list.
Yeah, and then there's just a question as to like, okay, what once things are released, what is that going to look like, and why it took so long if we do actually get all of the things in the end, because we saw the MLK files be released, the JFK files be released, and it didn't take an act of Congress, literally.
Right. Yeah, and I know, and the people who are against releasing the information, there are a couple things that they have gone to. They say this could, it could put kind of, undue, speculation on people who didn't do anything wrong, but perhaps they were just business associates of Jeffrey Epstein, or it might expose victims. So there are a couple of arguments that the anti-release the Epstein file people will go to, but I think the greater good here is probably releasing all of this, and I for one hope it happens, but we'll see. I'm not until we see them. I don't believe it's going to happen, because like you said, it's been now 5 or so years that these could have been released, and it's just never happened.
Yeah. We shall see what happens with that. And then Nicki Minaj is going to be speaking to the UN.
Yeah.
This seems a little like, what? Huh? Where did this come from?
Yeah, she is. She's going to speak to the United Nations today. People may remember a couple of weeks ago, Nicki Minaj put a real spotlight on some of the things that are happening to Christians in Nigeria. And she was supported by the president. She was supported by the White House. And because of that, they have sort of forged a bond here. And the White House has now set up this speech for her at the UN. She is going to be there with Mike Walls, who is the ambassador to the UN for the United States, and Nicki Minaj speaking at the UN. I don't know that that's something that you might have expected to happen. It obviously does seem a bit random, but she has taken this issue on, and she is sort of the leader in the country right now when it comes to what might be happening to Christians in Nigeria. So she's going to get up there and she's going to speak, and I think there's going to be a lot of interest.
Yeah, you never know where the news will take us in any given day.
You never know.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me again. I'll see you soon.
All right, see you soon. It's 1:12, everyone. We do have a few live opportunities. I think we're going to try to go to the House floor right now, as we were just speaking about the Epstein vote here. Let's go ahead and listen in to what the conversation is at this point.
Trump has stated, we have nothing to hide here. I'm voting to release the files so that we can move on from this smear campaign the Democrats have manufactured. God bless
Gentleman's
Donald J.
time has
Trump.
expired. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Ohio reserves. Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
All right. How much time do I have to close?
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank all of America for tuning in to this. I want to thank Representatives Massey and Khanna, Representative Green, all of those who have insisted upon bringing the truth forward and a reckoning with the reality of one of the worst international child sex trafficking rings ever to exist in the United States, and the cover-up attendant to it. We've got the opportunity today to do justice for the victims, for the survivors who have come forward to say that the voice of the victims and the survivors must be put at the very center of our deliberations. Not shunted off to the side, not submerged, not subordinated, but put at the very center. We must hear from the people who themselves were victimized by this nightmare. Now, our colleagues across the aisle seem to want to make this into some sort of partisan contest. I haven't heard so much talk about the Democrats since the Democratic National Convention. And all that we've done here is to say we want to bring the truth forward, along with a bipartisan group. We don't want the Senate monkeying around with this in order to slow things down. We want it passed in the Senate. We want it signed. And before that, if the president is true to his word and he wants to see all of this come to light, he can release it now, instead of fighting, kicking, and screaming every step along the way. But I'm glad he's changed his mind, and I hope he maintains the momentum he's got to stick with the vast majority of the American people who want to see that the truth is done here. And while he's at it, the administration could reconsider their terrible policies, gutting federal offices and programs designed to combat violence against women. The DOJ terminated hundreds of grants to police departments, defunding the police when it comes to investigating violent sex crimes and to support victims. His DOJ destroyed programs to combat international human trafficking rings. Let's get back on the side of the women. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker Johnson said it right. Why now after 4 years of doing nothing? Because going after President Trump is an obsession with these guys. Best example is John Brennan testified in front of our committee under oath, said he was not involved with the dossier. Only problem is Tulsi Gabbard declassified a report, released that report, and it said exactly the opposite. And she related a story in there where a CIA official went up to Mr. Brennan and said, we shouldn't include this in the report. And John Brennan's response was, yeah, but doesn't it ring true? Forget the facts, forget the truth, go after Trump, put it in. Same dynamic at work here. We're all for protecting innocent victims. We're all for exposing the bad guys who did bad things. But this is an obsession with the left. For 10 years, it's going after President Trump. So vote yes. Make sure the bad guys are held accountable. We all want to do that. Speaker Johnson's right. I think it's going to be unanimous. But understand what they're doing, because they had 4 years and didn't do a darn thing. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 4405? Those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, two-thirds being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without
Can I request a recorded vote, Mr.
The
Speaker?
gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Yeah, I'm requesting a recorded vote.
The gentleman from Maryland has requested a recorded vote. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20, this 15-minute vote on the motion to suspend the rules will be followed by 5-minute votes on ordering the previous question on House Resolution 879, adoption of House Resolution.
Okay, this is the vote that we have been waiting for. We shall now hear what the vote will be as Congress members have been debating over this Epstein release of the files. All right. This is expected to be a unanimous vote. So far, you can see it leaning in that direction. This is the legislation known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act. President Trump, of course, dropped his opposition to it on Sunday. House Speaker Mike Johnson kind of cued this morning that he would go with an approval of it. And again, we're waiting on a final tally here, but it does look like this will likely pass through the House. Then it, of course, has to still go on to the Senate. The Senate does have some issues with it, so it could still face some issues in the Senate. But this is where we stand at this point in time. We'll continue to watch what happens there, and I'll let you know once they wrap up about which way it went. But again, this is expected to be a unanimous vote here for the House. Now, as thousands of people bringing it back home here to Chicagoland grapple with incredible hikes to property tax bills that you've just received 4 months late. 4 months late. The county assessor says the property tax system is inherently unfair, calling for reforms. His head of communications, Angelina Romero, is joining me now to talk more about the numbers, the backlash, and where we go from here. Thank you for your time.
Hi, thank you for having me on today.
Absolutely. So the assessor says he's fighting for a circuit breaker in Springfield. Can you explain what that means for people and whether there's some precedents from other states that have used something similar?
Yes, so the assessor is pushing for legislation to pass what's called a circuit breaker. And it basically works like a circuit breaker in your home, right? When there's a certain surge on your property tax bill, the state would actually pick up a certain amount if you went over, let's say, like a 40% increase or such on your property tax bill. So that is sitting with lawmakers. And also, yes, so this is a common practice in other states around the country.
Mm-hmm. So we would be following, it's nothing new, essentially, what he is proposing here. You know, a lot of people have been trying to just figure out and wrap their brains around this entire issue. We had a conversation with the Cook County Treasurer yesterday, and I opened up this discussion even to our viewers online on YouTube, and it comes back around to one of the things that we did talk about with her that I want to pose to you. Kip says, how is it that we're getting these large downtown commercial properties seeing reductions from appeals, but then we have black and brown neighborhoods, black and brown residents who are having to shoulder this burden?
Yes, definitely. So I'm glad you brought this up. It's important to understand the way the property tax system works is that it's a zero-sum game. So if one group or even one property tax owner gets a break, other people pick up the bill, pick up the tab. So again, it's a zero-sum game. So yes, you're absolutely right. We have seen, Chicago was reassessed last year, which is why they're seeing new values on their property tax bill this time around. We have seen that commercial properties were actually given large reductions by the Board of Review, which in then turns, the bill lands on everybody else. Because at the end of the day, the budgets need to be filled, and someone has to pay. And unfortunately, it has been shifted to many of the homeowners. And my boss, Assessor Cook County Assessor Fritz Kagi, has been talking about this for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, shifted to a lot of the homeowners, yes. But how are we ending up in the types of neighborhoods that we're ending up in? I mean, where there may be a median income of $20,000 or $30,000.
Yeah, so let's talk about that part. So let's back up a little bit. So the part that my office is responsible for are assessments. So when I say assessments, that means placing value on your home, what your home could sell for in today's market. And just nationwide after COVID, I'm sure everyone's kind of familiar with this, housing prices soared nationwide, especially like 4 times the rate in Chicago, in the city. So traditionally very affordable areas that, maybe you could still get a home for $100,000, $80,000. That doesn't exist anymore. And you've really seen the housing prices skyrocket in these areas that we're talking about. And I know the treasurer pointed out Inglewood, North Lawndale as an example. So if you were, let's say, go on Zillow, look at the prices, you can no longer find a house for those prices. So again, our office, we follow the market, what your house can sell for in today's market. So that sort of explains some of that, why property, why the values are increasing on your home.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so As I understand it, a recent analysis by the assessor's office found that nearly 250,000 households have seen this kind of spike in recent years overall. What help is available for people who are getting these bills?
Yes, I'm actually really glad you brought that up. So I have printed here a sample of the Cook County or what a property tax bill looks like. So I really encourage everyone to look in the bottom left corner of their bill right here, and I went ahead and circled it. Listed under the exemption, so under tax calculator, are your property tax savings. A lot of people think that it's bound by income, but actually the homeowner exception, the most popular one, every homeowner is eligible, and you would be surprised how many people don't know about it or don't claim it. And the only eligibility is that you live and own your property. So you can apply for that right now. And what I encourage you to do is go on our website, and that is Cook County Assessor il.gov. And you can apply online now to get that exemption or that property tax saving applied and to get a corrected tax bill. But even going further than that, the exemption that offers the most significant savings is the senior freeze. And those are for our seniors who are low income, make $65,000 or less. They can apply for that, and it offers such a great savings. And right now in our lobby is full of seniors and veterans as well, who unfortunately forgot to apply for their savings, because you do have to reapply every year because it's tied to income, and that may vary every year. So, our lobby is full right now, and we're assisting people getting them corrected tax bills. So I really encourage taxpayers to take a look at their bill.
Mm-hmm. So you said the senior freeze, and then the first one was?
Homeowner exemption.
Homeowner exemption. Those are two things that may help out a lot of people. And then there's the appeals process. Why aren't we seeing more people appeal? We definitely see, again, some of these large corporations that have appeals attorneys on file.
Yes. So appealing with our office is absolutely free. You do not need an attorney. We do targeted outreach, especially in these areas. We've been preparing for this. We're already, I think, at 230 outreaches for the year. You can go online. Everything is archived on our YouTube if you wanted to find your area, because we specifically host workshops digitally, but we focus on certain neighborhoods, and we make sure everyone sort of gets a personalized outreach. But they're all archived on our YouTube. You can watch videos on how to file an appeal. The only tricky part is that you only get one window to file an appeal every year. So we did extra outreach for these particular areas because we knew this was coming.
So when you say you knew this was coming, are we expecting the same thing next year?
So how it works is that you get assessed every 3 years. So Chicago was reassessed last year, so now they have another 2 years. But we also did targeting campaigns. So we sent out to these same neighborhoods that we're talking about that you mentioned. We also did a huge postcard campaign to let people know this is our office, this is what we do. Just because we felt like maybe they haven't had to interact with our office for some time, but we knew that increases were coming. So we really wanted to highlight again that homeowner exemption, that senior exemption, the senior fee freeze, veterans with disabilities. In fact, we have a virtual event for veterans this Thursday, and you can watch that on YouTube or Facebook. We have a lot of our veterans that need to reapply annually as well.
And I want to ask you how you all's office works with this Cook County Board of Review that actually grants the reductions.
Mm-hmm. So it's a twofold part. So our office, we accept appeals, we process appeals, but then there is another agency called the Board of Review, where homeowners and business owners or commercial property owners can file appeals. And that's where we're seeing the large reductions happening. So we're seeing a lot of the commercial properties getting huge reductions that aren't necessarily, we don't think they're warranted, and where this sort of shift of balance and burden is being placed on homeowners. But yes, so there's two places to appeal, one at our office, and then there's a window with the Board of Review. That's where you're seeing the large reductions.
Okay, so when you all sent out the release immediately calling for reforms, is this the first time that you all have made a push like this to say, hey, there's an issue, an inherent systemic issue that's causing this that we need to fix, or is your voice just getting louder?
I think it's been ongoing since my boss started, since he started over this administration. He's worked on a lot of reforms as well related to property tax savings, but it just, right, it has to happen sort of holistically. Like it can't just be one piece of the puzzle because there's so many various factors that go into the property tax bill. So I would say no, we've been fighting for a lot of reforms with Springfield. And one right now that he's also advocating for is the automatic renewal of that senior free. So the one I told you that people have to apply for every year. Our lobby is full of seniors right now. And they shouldn't have to make their way in every year. And we've actually been able to, we can get income information that allows us to verify that their income didn't change from the year prior. That would automatically renew and take that burden off of many seniors. So that's something really big that my boss is pushing for.
That's huge. And of all people, our seniors and our veterans should not, you're right, have to keep coming back year after year to fight for the very same thing. Many of them that are on fixed incomes anyway. So let me just ask you on a final note, what you all do now. Like you said, your lobby is full of those seniors and the veterans. I'm sure you're hearing it online and from every which way from people who are getting these bills. Where do you go now?
I would really encourage people, again, look at your tax bill, look at that left hand corner, make sure checking on your neighbors, your friends, your family. I'm getting tons of phone calls and emails and telling people this is where you look, this is what you can do. That's the immediate action. We're also having a housing resource fair here where we invite supportive partner agencies, nonprofits that offer housing counseling to also, again, just look at your homeownership holistically to see other places that you can save. And lastly, I forgot to mention this, but I think the treasurer has done a really good job. If you also take a look at your property tax bill, big bold letters, where your money goes. You can actually see where all the funding is going. She does a line item to see where the increases are. So I think that's really important too, as far as like transparency.
Absolutely. We should all know where our money is going, especially as it's going up. Thank you so much. Angelina Romero, Head of Communications for the Cook County Assessor's Office. Appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right.
Bye.
It's about 1:35, everybody. Let's take a quick break. 136 right now, and since it's still going on, let's take you back to the House floor as the House is voting on a bipartisan measure here that would require the Justice Department to release the files in its possession related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Again, this is expected to pass the House today after it gained a lot of momentum over the weekend into the new week here. A coalition of Democrats and 4 Republicans were a part of that bipartisan coalition that pushed this forward here, forcing the vote on the Epstein bill. Again, before the vote, more than a dozen of Epstein's accusers today stood alongside lawmakers in front of the Capitol, calling on both parties to support the measure. It is expected to pass. It still would then need to go to the Senate, though, and there are some issues in terms of privacy and certain sensitive information that could maybe incidentally leak out as a result of them coming out that will have to be addressed when it gets to the Senate. So they've already kind of flagged at least those 2 issues that they have if it goes on to the Senate. But it does look like the vote has gone through here, and again, it was expected to pass. There was not expected to be opposition here in the House. So we'll continue to watch that, let you know what's going on with it. But as you can see right at the bottom, it says time remaining. It is out. They're just kind of milling about. So this is where it stands: 413 yays to just 1 nay, and 19 that are not voting. So it does, even though they haven't gavelled it in, it does look like it is passed there in the House. Still has a ways to go, and of course we still have to see what exactly it is that we will see in the end once these files are released. But that's where we are as of right now. Let's move along with our conversations here. I mentioned as we began the broadcast that we were going to talk with the DuPage County clerk. There are many issues, and we were just looking at the House there. There are many issues when you think about voting that could fundamentally change what we see in years to come. Funding doesn't necessarily maybe come to the top of your mind right off of most people's minds, but that is what the DuPage County clerk says is their biggest threat to the 2026 elections: underfunding. So Jean Kazmarek is joining me now. Jean, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Is it Kazmarek? Okay, you're muted, but I did see you shake yes. Okay, we're working on her sound. I think I can hear you now. Jean, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
I can.
And so it's Clerk Kazmarek. I appreciate your time. When I think of issues to elections, I just don't immediately think of funding. But of course, we don't do what you do. So explain how this really became an issue right now.
Well, it's budget season in DuPage County. And so our office submitted a budget for 2026. And next Tuesday, the county board will be voting on the finalized version of that budget. And at the moment, it allocates $8.9 million for our office, which is 28.4% less than what we requested. And that request was $12.5 million.
So now, are they kind of signaling to you, hey, we had to do cuts in a bunch of different areas and yours is just one of them? Or are you seeing some other areas that are getting exactly what they want, just not yours?
Both, but I did notice that the sheriff's office and the state's attorney's office pretty much got what they wanted, and we got far less. Mm-hmm. So I'm not thinking that elections are a priority in DuPage County.
But clearly law enforcement is, or crime would be an issue. But tell me how, it's obvious when you think about what could happen if crime wouldn't get the money, or the law enforcement wouldn't get the money that they need to fight crime. What would be the issue if you didn't receive the funding that you need?
Well, I honestly don't know what to say right now. As it stands, we're not going to be able to get through 2026 with this amount of money. And perhaps we're going to have to abolish vote by mail, or I don't even know what to say. I can't even, we haven't even thought on the terms.
Yeah, I mean, but that is kind of what I'm looking for. Like, what are the things that would have to change? So vote by mail would be one of them. What else?
Right. Well, for example, we have 275 polling places. We would have to evaluate whether those polling places would have to be dramatically reduced. We have doubled the number of early voting sites in recent years. Perhaps we would have to reduce those as well. And we, like I said, we have a very robust vote by mail program, and we have close to 100,000 people signed up for permanent vote by mail. I don't know what we're going to do about that. Are we not going to be able to fund it? And by the way, vote by mail is mandated under the law.
Okay. So it's mandated, but the funding isn't there, is what you're saying.
Right.
And give me a baseline as to what you typically ask for versus what the new requests are requiring.
Well, typically we are underfunded every year, but this is the most dramatic. This is the tipping point. Usually it's not, 28%.
Mm-hmm. And in prior years, or even in this year, I mean, I'm sure by the time the media get word of this, you've had some conversations already, kind of bringing up some red flags here. So tell me, based upon your population, are they just saying this funding isn't necessary for you, that you could find ways to do what you need to do with what you have or what they're allocating thus far?
I'm not sure that they're interested in that conversation. We have approached the board several times stating that, we need more funding, and they're not particularly interested in what we might be talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell me timeline-wise what we're looking at. So the vote is when?
The vote is next Tuesday.
The vote is next Tuesday, right before the Thanksgiving break. Right. Is there time for these numbers to shift between now and next Tuesday?
Yes.
Are you getting any signals that that's possible?
Not yet.
Okay. What has been said? I mean, you are saying, you think, or you're not sure, but what has been said?
Very little has been said. We came out with this news release yesterday to let everyone know what's been happening. We've been going before the board for 3-4 weeks now, and we have talked about our list of expenses, and right now they just haven't been that interested in hearing our message.
And are they saying not now, or it doesn't look like it's going to happen, even if, let's say, okay, well, it doesn't come across in the initial budget, but are there some loopholes where they could get the funding by 2026?
I don't know of those loopholes right now. The thing about elections, as with many departments, we have to plan way ahead. We have contracts. We have to plan with our staff months and months in advance, and it's hard to do that when you don't have the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so budgets are typically due in July, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yes, it would shorten your time to get ready for, say, November, but that would leave time for some modifications, possibly.
Yes. I'm hopeful that there will be some modifications by next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell me about, in terms of your timeline getting ready for elections, what are the things that you would need before July? to get ready? What are the things that, waiting until July or somewhere around that time frame, what are the things that would set you back on?
Well, the primary is March 17th, so we would have to start right away planning for that. And the vote by mail and early voting start 40 days before March 17th. And we would need everything. We would need supplies. We would need toner. We would need paper and postage, everything.
Let's take a break. $150 right now, and we mentioned right off the top of the broadcast that rap superstar Nicki Minaj was going to be addressing the United Nations today in New York City. I believe a piece of this is still going on, so let's go ahead and go live there. I'll talk to you a little bit about why she's there in just a bit if we can go there, but I'll go ahead while we're trying to work on that live feed to tell you that this is to bring attention to violence committed against Christians in Nigeria. Lots of questions and lots of conversation as to how this all came about, but as I understand it, she maybe last week or the week before signaled that she wanted to kind of be an ambassador to the Trump administration on this particular issue. She said that she was grateful in a tweet that went out that she had been entrusted with the opportunity of this magnitude to be able to speak to the United Nations. She says that she will never stand down in the face of injustice, and that there is a bigger purpose to what she is doing right now. So again, this was all arranged by a media advisor for the Trump administration for her to go there and to speak again about threatening military action against Nigeria over what they are calling a slaughter of Christians over there. So again, Nicki Minaj there in New York City speaking to the United Nations today. We had an issue with that signal, so let's just go ahead and move along here at 151. For any family that has to deal with the questions, the difficult decision, very emotional decision over whether to put your loved one in the care of a facility, a rehab facility, a nursing home, something of that sort. It's strained. It's strained because you're putting the care of someone you deeply love. You're putting them in someone else's hands that you were hoping, that you were trusting will treat them like you would like to. That they will deliver care that may be better than what you can provide on your own. And for one family, they say the complete opposite happened. And so they just received a huge settlement. And I want to speak with Margaret Battersby Black, who is a managing partner at Levin and Perconti, about this particular case. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So give me a little background here on this particular family and when this lawsuit came to fruition.
Sure. So this family was a Western Chicago family. Shirley Adams was 79 years old. She was physically in great shape, but she had started to suffer from dementia. And like you mentioned, her family began to realize they couldn't care for her adequately in their own home. So they made the difficult decision to place her at a facility. This facility was the Lakeview Nursing and Rehab Facility in Lincoln Park. She was admitted in June of 2021. And when she was admitted, she walked through the doors. Soon after she was there, her family began to see a significant deterioration. So she started not being able to walk. She was being transported around in a wheelchair. Due to short staffing and poor care, she was not being, taken out of bed. She wasn't, they were maintaining her physical condition. She slowly became bedbound. And then she suffered, sort of an unspeakable thing, which was she got this giant bed sore. And that bed sore ultimately ended up resulting in her death.
So she walked through the doors, but died shortly thereafter.
Yes.
How long was it?
So she was at this facility for 3 months. After she got this, after this big bed sore was caused to happen, her family moved her to a different facility, and she died in February of 2023. So, the questions that were brought to the jury last week, resulting in this verdict were, was the facility negligent, and what did that cause? And unfortunately for Shirley, she went through 15 months of just, sheer terror, 20 plus surgical procedures, constantly on antibiotics, hospitalization, significant pain, and, shortened her life. Her family was not expecting her to go to a nursing home, to slowly deteriorate and die. She had many good years left.
Oh, my. So as I'm seeing from a News and World Report, Illinois actually ranks 47th out of 50 states for nursing home quality and care. So when you think of like not expecting her to have that kind of end to her life, 47th out of 50 is horrible.
Absolutely. And, a lot of the problems in these nursing homes are attributable to one thing, nursing home operators putting profits over people. The reason that these facilities aren't staffed properly is because they don't have the resources. Do the resources exist? Yes, they do. But the corporation would rather line their pockets than pay to have adequate staff. And until Illinois stops letting these big corporations come into Illinois, taking care of our most vulnerable people, seniors and disabled people, and understaffing to make the corporations richer, we're going to continue to be 47th, and I'd be surprised if we don't fall further.
What do you think is the message? I mean, this is the worst type of thing to hear if you are in the midst of trying to make a decision about your relative and whether someone else can care for them better than you. What do you say to other families that are hearing your settlement?
Well, I mean, first of all, you know, knowing who's really operating the nursing home is important, right? The day-to-day staff, I believe they show up and they really want to do their jobs and they want to give good care, but they're just not given the resources. And this particular nursing home is one of 10 nursing homes in a chain that's operated by Infinity Healthcare Management. Even going further up the corporate chain, there is a big corporate REIT, or real estate company, that's involved, that's operated by an individual, Moshe Gubin, who operates and purchases and buys up these nursing homes across the country. So, first do the research. Who's really, calling the shots here? Second, be an advocate. Shirley's family, she had 5 really dedicated children. And the sad part is that they were advocates. They were, going there and they were expressing that, this was not what they signed up for. This was not their expectations. Their mom shouldn't be deteriorating. And even Shirley, who had a really dedicated family who was advocating for her, didn't get the kind of care she deserved. And it makes you wonder what those individuals who don't have advocates, what happens to them.
Absolutely.
So, be your own advocate.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think, when my grandmother was in a nursing home, I definitely felt that made a difference, that my mother was able to be there every day. But there are so many people who are in those centers, in those nursing homes, who don't see their families for months on end, some for years on end. So this was a $12.2 million settlement where they were deemed, the center was deemed negligent for their nursing care that this family says led to the death of their loved one. But you mentioned they're a part of a chain. What does this particular, it sounds like a lot of money, but what does this settlement do for the entire chain? Does the chain go on like nothing ever happened?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. First of all, it was a jury verdict. So the 12 citizens of Cook County made this determination, and they, I think that their verdict is fair. And, unfortunately, this particular chain has a history, and my office is embroiled right now with them in cases where they've done the same thing. And then they've actually made offers of settlement, offering to pay victims for injuries and then sometimes their deaths. And then they've not paid. And they've got the resources, they've got the money. It's just, what do they want to do with it? So, this is kind of the first of many battles we anticipate we'll have along the way. And, we hope that the compensation that was awarded by the jury shows these operators that, human lives are valuable, and the citizens of Illinois are not going to tolerate this neglect. But honestly, I think we need some legislative change here too. These nursing homes are just allowed to operate with this lack of financial transparency, and the owners are making, millions, and in some cases billions of dollars, while they're, providing poor care and saying they don't have the resources to staff these homes. So, I'm hopeful that lawsuits like ours will bring about some meaningful change and get the attention of, the state legislatures and some of the advocates that we have, the good advocates we have in Illinois that are trying to get nursing homes to do the right thing. But, it's not going to be surprising to me if it happens to another family, unfortunately.
That's very troubling to hear. And of course, you can't put a dollar amount on someone's life. But what does the $12 million, I want to ask you kind of a two-part question. First and foremost, what does the $12.2 million cover? What does that cover if someone has passed away?
So the jury awarded $12.2 million, which is their assessment of the value of what Shirley had to suffer before her death. The pain, the agony, dying from this big gaping hole in your backside. And then the 5 children that she left who, lost their mother way too early. Shirley could have lived easily another 5 years. And I think the jury award in this case really does demonstrate that, we value our elderly. No one should have to live all of their lives. She raised 5 successful children, and she deserved to die with dignity, not like this. And I think the jury recognized that.
Yeah, and how much were they paying per year for her to live in this? She didn't live multiple years in that particular facility, but how much are families paying per year for that facility?
Well, I'll say that, the prices that this facility would charge to private individuals are in the, tens of thousands of dollars a month. But what's sad about this is that a lot of Shirley's care was funded by the taxpayer dollars, because a lot of our seniors are on Medicaid and Medicare benefits that pay for their nursing home care. And so, the state and federal government have to take a real close eye to this and say, we're funding this care that they say they're providing, and they're not. And, I think there's a lot more here than just some isolated neglect.
Yeah, and so you mentioned legislation that needs to change. Tell me about the Illinois Nursing Home Care Act.
So the Illinois Nursing Home Care Act was enacted in 1979, and it is a great tool and vehicle for residents and families to be able to vindicate their rights, just like the Adams family did. It basically says that an owner of a nursing home can't neglect or abuse a resident, and it allows private attorneys, like our firm, and in this case, my partner Paul Connery, who took this case to verdict, to bring these cases and to have a jury decide. And one of the problems that we've encountered recently is that, this nursing home care act is a good thing. It vindicates the residents' rights, it establishes that these residents shouldn't be abused or neglected. But because of this corporate ownership and lack of oversight and lack of financial transparency, a lot of times even jury verdicts like this are very difficult to collect. And we have a long road ahead of us to try to collect that $12 million. Because I have no doubt that the corporate management of this home is going to try to hide money, is going to try to continue to deny the Adams family justice and say they won't pay. They may be able to appeal. There's all sorts of things that these corporations can do to keep the money and to keep shareholders happy while families like this suffer. But I will tell you that we're not going to rest until we get justice for this family and we collect every dollar that's that verdict.
Yeah, and what are the reforms to this act that you all are pushing for right now?
There needs to be some kind of financial transparency and limits on the types of corporations and entities that can operate these facilities. There needs to be disclosure about who's really operating it. If the facilities are going to claim that they don't have the resources to do the staffing and that they're not making money off of these facilities, which is often what they claim, there needs to be a trail that leads up to the corporations so that they can be held accountable when stuff like this happens. And, that's, I think, the primary change that we need, because we have this great act, but sometimes it is hard to use it because of the way that these corporations hide their assets and put their profits over their people.
Well, again, this $12.2 million jury verdict, everyone, was the largest ever in Illinois for a nursing home case. And Attorney Black, thank you so much for the work that you do on behalf of so many families that are in need there with Levin and Perconti. Please keep us updated on where things go from here with the other folks that you are representing, trying to enact the same type of justice.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care. It's 2:05 now. Let's take a quick break, and then I'll set you up for this hour of Chicago Live. It's 2:07 right now. Let me kind of tell you about some of the things that are coming up in this hour of Chicago Live. We're going to speak with a woman and her attorney. This is a story that's gotten so much attention online after one of our reporters brought it to everyone's attention yesterday. This woman who was discharged from a hospital, pregnant woman, discharged from the hospital, actively in labor, and she ended up giving birth on the side of the road. She and the baby are okay, but obviously very disturbing situation, and we're going to talk to her and her attorney about what they've been through and where they go from here. Also, when you speak of disturbing situations, we have one out of Kenosha, and this is a pretty extensive case of dog abuse that we're going to talk about there with Kenosha police, what they've uncovered, and how it was able to go on for so long. Plus, so many of us are clicking online right now as we get ready for the holiday season, Black Friday deals, all of those things. What about buying a car online? Maybe somebody is getting ready for that. Vehicles are being sold on Amazon these days, and soon it will include Fords. And so Wendy Lane is a senior manager of Ford Blue Advantage Vehicles, and she's joining me now to talk about this big step forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Hello.
I really appreciate being able to talk to you about this. Tell me how long in the making this has been, and when people will be able to take advantage of it.
So this has been a while that we've been working with our Ford dealers on how we might be able to sell certified pre-owned vehicles on Amazon. We're really excited to partner with them and have our vehicles accessible to customers across the country. We are slowly ramping up as dealers voluntarily opt in to this program. So we're excited to see how we could show our vehicles to our consumers, knowing that they have that peace of mind that it's a certified pre-owned vehicle from a Ford dealer.
Okay, so if someone's in the market for this holiday season,
they absolutely can go to Amazon.com and look on Amazon Autos to find a Ford certified pre-owned dealer from their Ford dealership, making it easy for them to shop and feel safe at their home and pick up at a Ford dealer so they can service and learn about the car.
Now, how does it differ from going to an actual dealer?
Sometimes consumers love to shop digitally from their home on their screen. Dealers have the ability to list their vehicle and all their pictures and all information about the car. Customers can shop while they sit at home, learn about the car, see which car they like in the safety of their home, and then come into the Ford store to finalize the purchase.
Okay, so do we see this moving forward? I mean, it's pre-owned vehicles right now. Do we see, are there already some things in the works to get new vehicles on there at some point in time? Like, what is the next frontier after this one?
Right now, we really want to focus on certified pre-owned. We want to ensure our dealers like the platform of Amazon.com. So we're really just focusing on certified pre-owned. Today, we currently do not have any plans for new car. We're just focusing on the certified vehicles.
Now, there's been a lot of conversation about like doom scrolling or tipsy scrolling or things of that nature. It may not make a lot of difference if someone accidentally, or maybe they've had, a little too much to drink there in their home, and they click on a new pair of shorts or a new pair of shoes. It's a huge purchase if they're getting a vehicle. So are there any some parameters in place if someone accidentally clicks on something, or maybe they need to take back their click?
Absolutely. Working with Amazon and our dealers, if a customer makes a mistake, we can certainly unwind those deals to ensure that a customer feels safe at home. They do have to go through all the steps and enter a lot of information before that consumer buys a vehicle. So it would be kind of difficult to go all the way through and not realize what you're doing. However, if they wake up in the morning and realize they purchased a vehicle and that's not what they intended to do, certainly we would have a way to unwind that deal.
Yeah, so they have a headache, they're reaching for Gatorade, and then they realize, I bought a car. So let me ask you this. How many dealers are participating in this right now?
So right now we have approximately 200 dealers that have raised their hand and are working with Amazon to get onboarded. We just recently launched this at the end of October, so it's very early stages, but dealers 100% can enroll at any time and choose to syndicate their inventory to Amazon.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about these three tiers of vehicles that you all have.
So the three different tiers, the gold tier is Ford only. It has a 1212 comprehensive coverage and a 7100 powertrain. We created a specific EV certified that is tailored to certified vehicles so that customers can feel safe buying an EV used car. And then we also allow our dealers to certify non-Fords. So we created Blue certified, which are non-Ford vehicles.
Mm-hmm. And I see it's currently available in Los Angeles, Seattle, and Dallas. Is Chicago in the running?
Absolutely. As Chicago dealers learn more about the program, they can choose to opt in. And as soon as we have enough dealers in a metro market, then we'll be able to advertise on their behalf.
Would someone in Chicago be able to get it from LA?
They'd have to go to LA to pick it up. The vehicle has to be picked up at a Ford dealer. It will not be delivered to their home.
Okay, big difference. Okay. Tell me what you are competing with right now. Like, what is the market like right now?
The market right now is very interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of competition with all of the different brands. Our brand, Certified Pre-Owned, really shows how you can buy a vehicle with that peace of mind that has been gone through the service department, backed by Ford. By allowing our dealers to list these certified pre-owns on Amazon, it's another platform where consumers can find our dealers as used car retailers. It's a way for us to show that our dealers have used cars and it's a safe place to purchase a used car because it's backed by Ford, it has that peace of mind, and we're trying to reach consumers where they are in the shopping experience. Some consumers buy new cars, some consumers buy certified cars. We want to make sure we're where our consumers are today.
And I'm sure that in making a decision to take a step like this, you all had to weigh some pros and some cons. What were the risks that you had to consider?
Honestly, anytime you look to syndicate to a different platform, you want to make sure that our dealers are protected and that is a trusted source for our consumers. So knowing Amazon and them as a trusted source, everyone has an Amazon Prime account, and it's a way for us to test the environment to see how well consumers want to shop on Amazon for a vehicle. Just like you said, it seems it's a new frontier, so to speak. Buying a vehicle on Amazon, it's something new and fresh, and Ford always likes to be in the front to test and learn and understand how consumers would like to transact. So it gives us an opportunity to see how this is going to work. It's kind of exciting to see if consumers really feel comfortable buying vehicles completely online.
Yeah, will there be some special pricing?
There really isn't any special pricing. Our dealers price their own vehicles. This is 100% controlled by our Ford dealers. So they obviously have vehicles listed online. So all pricing does align. So if you go in store or online, it does all match to make it consistent for the consumer. So there isn't any switching around pricing or changing pricing, but it is somewhere where a consumer can shop for a certified vehicle.
No haggling.
Correct.
All right. Thank you so much, Wendy Lane with Ford Blue Advantage Vehicles. Anything else that you think people need to know about this step that you all have taken and what's available now?
I guess a final thought would be definitely go to Amazon Autos and check out Certified Pre-Owned from Ford Blue Advantage and our Ford dealers.
Okay, take care. Appreciate your time
Thank
today.
You.
It's 2:17 right now. We'll be right back. 2:19 right now, and boy, is this a disturbing story. Dozens of dogs seized from a Kenosha home. And when we say dozens, the couple's been charged with more than 170 counts related to animal mistreatment. I want to go ahead and bring in Lieutenant Josh Hecker with Kenosha Police to talk a little bit more about what they found and how we got to this point. Lieutenant Hecker, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me today.
So when did this case come to you all? When were you all made aware of this?
It started back in early November. We started getting some tips from citizens that live in or around these individuals' home, and they began noticing dogs in the backyard and odors and stuff that really affected their quality of life.
Was this a rural area? You know, sometimes, like, you know, if something happens in the city, that's one thing. If it happens in a rural area, I mean, we had a story not too long ago about a couple that had dozens of dogs, but in the end, they weren't actually charged. It seemed weird. They ended up having to give away some of the dogs, but they, like, knew all the dogs by name, and there was really no evidence of, like, mistreatment of the dogs. This seems very different.
Yeah, they definitely were not in a rural area. They were in a neighborhood. And what's interesting about this case is the male half of our investigation was arrested and charged back in December of 24 and received bond conditions from a judge that he was not allowed to possess animals. And that case was very similar to this, and 10 animals were removed from the home around in between December and February of 24 and 25.
Oh, wow. So a repeat offender here for something very similar. Where does this rise in terms of the things you all have seen before?
Well, I've been doing this for 23 years, and this is not the first time I've seen something like this. Unfortunately, it happens, and as a dog owner myself and someone who has value for pets, I think that most pet owners would be appalled to see the conditions that these animals were living in, and just dumbfounded that somebody would treat animals the way that they were treated in this situation.
Yeah, I'm seeing here, you know, the home was filthy, the dogs were malnourished, exposed to urine and feces. It was an illegal puppy mill. And so do you know that these dogs were being sold like across the U.S.? Was this something kind of contained regionally? What do we know about their operation?
So it's an ongoing investigation, but from what I've gathered thus far is that there were definitely some posting on social medias indicating that they had puppies for sale. So as broad as that can reach, I'm not sure if that individual opened up to public access or private friend access, but I can tell you that they were being advertised on social media.
Yeah, so I guess when I hear something like this, I feel for several different groups of people. One being the people who may have been waiting for one of those dogs, if they had already kind of worked out a deal, but then a bust like this happens, and then they're like, wait, what happens? Do you all end up having to contact the people that they have contacted? Like, what happens from that standpoint?
I think that would fall beyond the scope of law enforcement to reach out to private buyers. It would kind of fall by the wayside, if you would. As a potential buyer, I can certainly understand a frustration, and if there is any exchange of money minus in exchange for an animal, obviously that's a civil matter that would have to be addressed through the courts potentially. But ultimately, no, I don't think that as a detective I would reach out to those individuals unless I knew them, right? If I had information on who may have purchased dogs, I think the right thing would be to contact them and just kind of brief them a little bit on what happened. But a lot of that information probably isn't available.
Yeah, I just feel for someone if you thought you were getting a puppy for your kid for Christmas, and then you're like, well, puppy's not coming to you now. These were pit bulls and Frenchies. The other group of people I think about are law enforcement. Like, what is it like going in a home like that? What types of precautions do you all have to take? What is the moment of making entry into that home like? I mean, with those conditions.
So the Kenosha Police Department has a unit of community service officers that handle the vast majority of our animal complaints. And so they're highly trained individuals to deal with this. And these particular individual officers had multiple experiences with this particular home in the past. So they were very familiar with a couple of the dogs in the home that are known to be aggressive. So they led the way, and they safely removed a couple aggressive dogs from the home to make it safe for officers to go in. As funny as that may sound, they have the equipment that a patrol officer wouldn't have to appropriately engage or approach this type of situation. So it's a joint effort for sure. Additionally, you think we've removed 27 animals from this home. As a police department, we don't have a kennel to put them in or a facility. So we have an agreement with the Wisconsin Humane Society, their Kenosha campus specifically, that we ended up dropping all 27 dogs off at this location, which puts a huge burden on them.
Yeah, and that was the last group that I was going to say for the animals themselves. So do we know the status of the animals now?
I don't know the exact status of them. Standard protocol with something like this, with a felony investigation, the animals are maintained for a period of time so that the court system can play out. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. So if this case down the road, they find that the two suspects that we have taken into custody are not guilty, they're entitled to those dogs. So they have to maintain those animals for a long period of time, and until this goes through the court system, unfortunately the burden falls on them. And as I've told other media outlets, anybody in the Kenosha area that is willing to and can help dropping off dog food or blankets or anything, they're an important part of our daily operations, the Wisconsin Humane Society. So anything that we can do to try and help relieve some of the pressure that we've put on them would be great.
Now, I do want to ask you, I mean, again, let's just say they're innocent of the charges against them. Again, going back to the other recent conversation that we had that was sort of similar to this, the people still couldn't bring the animals home because of like an ordinance in that particular area that actually dictates how many animals a family can have in their home. Is there no ordinance of that sort for your area?
There absolutely is, and that's part of this investigation as well. So in Kenosha, the ordinance specifies that you're not allowed to have more than 3 dogs unless you have particular licenses. So if you have a license to sell animals, then you could, in theory, have more animals. Or if you have some sort of business that requires you to have more than 3 animals on your property at any given time for grooming or kenneling for other individuals, sure. But by no means am I suggesting that all 27 dogs would be released back to them with no direction or some sort of guidance. And I don't believe that's going to be the case here. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what is your advice to other families, whether they're in the market for an animal, because of course that's what breeds these puppy mills, or if they are kind of thinking of trying to breed their animals?
It's an interesting question. As a girl dad here in Wisconsin, we have what's called Wisconsin Circuit Court Access, which provides the public with access to cases that have gone through or currently gone through the court system. And if you know the individual's name that you might be purchasing an animal from, you can get on Wisconsin Circuit Court Access and look that individual up and see if they have prior offenses or convictions for mistreating animals. You know, like I said, as a girl dad, if my girl starts dating a guy, I might look under there to see what kind of history this individual has to protect her. And, you know, you can do the same with animals. And if anybody were to have simply typed in the male suspect's name in this case, they probably would have found that open case and made a more educated decision on whether or not to buy an animal from this family.
Never thought about that, but that is really great advice. Thank you so much for your time and for what you do on a regular basis, Lieutenant Hecker. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. You guys have a great day.
All right. You too. Please be safe. It's about 2:30
thanks.
right now, everyone. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, everyone. 2:32 right now. Let's go back to the House floor. They have just wrapped up their overwhelming vote for the Justice Department to release the Epstein files.
Due accord and respect during the period of debate. The gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today because the House of Representatives has a responsibility and a duty to protect the integrity of this institution. And what we learned from the documents released by Jeffrey Epstein's estate is nothing short of alarming. Those documents show that Delegate Stacey Plaskett, a sitting member of Congress, coordinated her questioning during an official oversight hearing with a man who is a convicted sex offender, a man whose crimes against minors shocked this entire nation. Let me be clear. This was just not casual contact. There were deliberate communications, and they shaped her official line of questioning in a congressional hearing. The American people expect honesty. The American people expect integrity and judgment from their elected officials. They expect members of Congress to conduct themselves with one word: decency, not to seek advice from a predator who exploited minor children. This resolution does not accuse. It acknowledges what is documented. It censures Delegate Plaskett for her conduct, removes her from the Intelligence Committee, where her judgment is paramount, and directs a full investigation into the extent of her relationship with Mr. Epstein. Some will try to spin this as politics, but protecting the honor of this body is not partisan. It's not Democrat. It's not Republican. Standing against a convicted predator's influence in our proceedings is not partisan. It's basic decency. We cannot pretend this didn't happen. The American people deserve better. Speaker, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
And I rise in opposition to this resolution. We're here today on the floor to support the complete disclosure of information related to Jeffrey Epstein and his billion-dollar international child sex trafficking ring. And our side of the aisle at least supports the release of information relating to anybody who had anything to do with it, whether they're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, or what have you, period. We insist on complete, full disclosure. This resolution has nothing to do with that. This seems to me to be one more pathetic effort to distract and divert attention from the fact that the president's name appeared more than 1,000 times already in the small fraction of material released on Epstein, and from the failure of the majority to move to disclose this information. And it is this bipartisan group that we've had behind the discharge resolution, which has insisted on bringing this to the fore, and we've got nothing but obstruction, opposition, resistance, evasion, distraction, and diversion from the other side. And now we get one more resolution like this. The resolution actually proposes a disciplinary censure against Representative Stacey Plaskett, but amazingly alleges no misconduct. It does not allege the violation of the Constitution. It does not allege the violation of a federal law or a state law or local law. It does not even allege a violation of the ethics rules of the House of Representatives, and yet they want to censure her and throw her off of her committee. This, a distinguished former federal prosecutor, diligent public servant, representative of the people of the Virgin Islands. Now, criminal justice has two parts to it. One is insisting upon legal accountability for people who do wrong. The other part of it is due process, which may be the two most beautiful words in the English language, certainly the two most beautiful words in the Constitution of the United States. It's due process that protects all of our freedoms and our rights against the arbitrary power of government and the will just to punish somebody without any process at all. But that's exactly what's going on here. Think about it. Ghislaine Maxwell had due process. She had a right to counsel. She had a right to hearing. She had a right to hear the evidence against her. She had a right to put on her case. She had a right to cross-examine. She had a right to a neutral, impartial tribunal. She had a right to unanimous verdict of a jury. And all of that she had, and she was found guilty. And that's why she was sentenced to jail for 20 years, even though Donald Trump has transferred her from a real prison to a prison camp where she's gotten very special pampered treatment, like she's in a Trump hotel. She gets room service to her cell. She gets gym privileges other inmates don't get. She gets to use the warden as a go-between with people outside of the institution and so on. But in any event, she had due process. Donald Trump had due process. He was convicted on 34 felonies, but he had the right to counsel. He had the presumption of innocence. He had a unanimous jury trial right. They had a right to cross-examine everybody, put their own witnesses on. Now, they want to take a former United States prosecutor, the representative of the people of the Virgin Islands, and without even going to the ethics committee, much less a court, they want to arraign her on some charges based on a newspaper article that she did something lawful. However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents. Now, I don't think it is the position of the very distinguished gentleman that if we find Jeffrey Epstein on the phone with Donald Trump, he should be impeached for it, or is that his position? Is his position that any time Jeffrey Epstein got somebody on the phone and he got a lot of people on the phone, that person is suddenly guilty? That sounds like guilt by association. That sounds like collective guilt. Our minority whip introduced a perfectly reasonable amendment to say, let's refer this to an ethics committee. Let's have a real hearing. They didn't want to have a real hearing. They want to rush to judgment. Why? So there can be some headline that will please Donald Trump tomorrow instead of a unanimous statement, or forgive me, I think the distinguished gentleman from Louisiana may have dissented, but an otherwise unanimous verdict of the House of Representatives that the American people want all the files open. We've had enough of the cover-up. We want all of the truth.
Okay, there's a lot going on here, and let me just try to walk you through a bit of what we've been watching. So at the top of the hour, the House began their vote for to force the release of the Epstein files. That was unanimously passed. After that passed, there was then a Republican who made a motion for a resolution that would censure a Democratic Congresswoman, Stacey Plaskett from the Virgin Islands. She was a non-voting delegate today, but would censure her. This goes back to a 2019 congressional hearing in which now we know she was communicating with now disgraced sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. During that congressional hearing, we've just learned in last week's release of some of the information, some emails that were going back and forth, it came to light that she had been messaging back and forth with Epstein during that hearing. The hearing was over Michael Cohen, who at that time was an associate of President Donald Trump. Don't have all of the details as to what they discussed, but now that more is coming to light and more information is coming up, we're hearing both from Democrats and Republicans as to what the next move is, really. You hear both of them kind of shouting at each other over, one, why is it all coming to light now, 4 years after there was so much contention over it? Each side blaming the other for obsessing over this for different reasons. You heard from Congressman Jordan, from Congressman Raskins, and then again, we heard one Republican who talked about that censure that they're looking to have over Congresswoman Plaskett for her communication with Jeffrey Epstein at the time during that particular hearing in February of 2019. So they're continuing to talk about that right now. Again, the resolution or the bill that would force a vote now goes to the Senate. That went through unanimously, but they are debating a resolution at the moment that would censure one Democratic Congresswoman. So still waiting to hear what comes of that, but the major point of contention today, moving that bill forward to release more of the Epstein files. It did pass unanimously, and it will go on to the Senate where it could have some edits. It's 2:42. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Just about 2:45 right now. Thanks so much for staying with us here online for Chicago Live. You know, there was a major settlement today against OxyContin, the maker of Purdue, and the Sackler family. And I want to talk now with Gateway Foundation's president and CEO, Jeremy Klemanski, about this opioid settlement and what comes from it now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We hear so much about quote unquote big pharma. What does this decision today, them paying billions of dollars to settle this flood of lawsuits, what does it do for those who may be watching what's happening and wondering, like, where do we go from here?
Well, hopefully it means relief for families and people in Illinois who have experienced opioid addiction or the loss of someone. The trauma that a family experiences with such a loss is significant. So the need to invest in access to substance use and mental health counseling for people is tremendous. And these are funds that, as they're administered from state to state, are being used for all kinds of projects, from outreach to peer support, even housing and program expansion in places, distribution of supplies for people that are still experiencing addiction. There's a lot that can happen with this money, and there is a significant demand in communities across Illinois.
Mm-hmm. What about the families of victims? What will they receive, and when will this money begin to go out to all these different entities?
Yeah, so families receive support, generally speaking, from settlement funds in the form of services. They're not generally going to receive like some sort of a payment per se, but what they receive is services from organizations that the state puts money out to try to provide support, whether it's counseling or treatment, or other supports in the community to help restore some of what our community's lost.
Mm-hmm. As I understand it, this agreement replaces one that went to the Supreme Court last year, but would have allowed the Sackler family, if I'm correct, to avoid being sued in the future.
Yeah, there's been a lot of strong opinions about the way the original deal was structured versus this deal. From our perspective as a provider in the community, we're anxious to see resources move to communities to help people. Mm-hmm. The bankruptcy laws in the country are obviously designed to try to give people and corporations an opportunity to start over. Unfortunately, in this case, while some people will get help and be able to start over, some of the families that lost somebody, mm-hmm. there's not really a start over for that. They've lost something substantial. So their ability to seek relief, I think, is important also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk a little bit more about that. The devastation that these drugs have cost many families.
Yeah, so what I would say to you is that anyone who's lost somebody knows the pain and the grief of losing a loved one. But with substance use, sometimes the progression of the disorder is over a period of time, but the loss is instant, right? I mean, one day you have your loved one and the next day you may not if they've experienced an overdose. And that is just devastating to people. And also, a lot of the folks that we've lost died at a much younger age, mm-hmm. candidly. I mean, there's statistics that show that for periods of the opioid crisis in this country, the expected life of some groups in our communities has decreased, sometimes for the first time in history, because of the impact of the opioid epidemic. That's devastating. That's not just somebody losing their son or daughter. That person might have been a father themselves or a brother. That's somebody losing a coworker. So, we have lost hundreds of thousands of people in this country that we didn't need to lose. And we lost them because not just because of the addiction to the opioids, but also that people who knew things were happening that were hurting our communities didn't come forward, and they weren't always truthful about the devastation that was, starting to set in. People on the ground were starting to see it, but there was a period of time where people who were profiting from these things weren't being honest with us as a community. And so the reaction and the movement of resources to helping people in communities was delayed. And that cost us lives.
Yeah. Let's talk about turning things around. One, from the standpoint of legally, I mean, how do we begin to turn the tide on what we've seen? Are we starting to turn things around? I mean, obviously, no company wants to get hit with these types of settlements, but is that what changes the tide? Like, what's going to make a difference moving forward?
So I think that the fact that there have been significant actions by state attorney generals in unison to go after bad actors, I think that sends a strong message. I think it's necessary. The average citizen doesn't have the resources to take on a huge corporation. Mm-hmm. But, in the case of Illinois and other states where the attorney general said, you know what, we're going to stand up for our people and we're going to seek relief and we're going to punish the bad actors in the way that we can. That is really important, right? Because they can protect the larger body of citizens, that may not be able to individually take an action. I think the corporate America has heard this. Some of these settlements were substantial. There are people in our world that think they could have been more substantial. I think that's possible. But I also think, the state attorney generals who are all negotiating these deals, they have to make decisions, right? Like, mm-hmm. Okay, how many more years are we going to fight before we can get relief to our communities? And getting relief to communities, so that services can be provided is a big part, right? Stopping the losses and helping. Do I think that there will be bad actors in the future? Probably. I think, unfortunately, sometimes people think about money more than they think about people. But I do think that making sure that people and entities, like the corporations that have done settlements, are held accountable is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a second point of that question would be how hard recovery is. I mean, like you said, we've lost so many people, but how hard is recovery? I can think of, watching one person and the years that it took that person and the multiple attempts to overcome their addiction. How hard can recovery be for many people?
So it varies from person to person because everybody's life history and their trauma history is different. What substances they've used and for how long can be different. And then, what protective factors they have. Do they still have stable housing? Do they still have an income? Do they still have a family member who's providing resources and helping them out? There's so many different factors. But what I can say for a lot of people is that, what happens in the course of addiction is they lose a lot of those supports. There's been negative things that have happened that have caused some people to not be willing to continue to support and work with people. The stigma is still very strong in our community about people who use drugs. I think there is progress being made there. I think people are starting to realize, especially with the opiate epidemic, you could have an injury and take a properly prescribed medication and become dependent. And I think that opened up people's eyes that, hey, this is a medical health condition. This is not just some sort of choices that people are making. So it's very different for every person. And what I can tell you is that the path of recovery is not necessarily linear. Sometimes there are, just like there are you have remission and then reoccurrence of symptoms with other diseases. The same thing happens with addiction. The important thing is that we have resources in place, places for people to go, whether it's a community drop-in center or a recovery center, or there's outreach people on the street that people can connect with, or it's well-staffed, residential and outpatient treatment centers, or just having knowledgeable people in the emergency room that know how to get a person started on medication and then connected with a clinic. All of these are important pieces to ensuring that we have a kind of a healthy system of supporting people so that they can make it to recovery, because it is not linear.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the services that Gateway Foundation provides.
Sure. So at Gateway Foundation, we provide a tremendous amount of residential treatment, and we have multiple levels of care, from residential detox to residential treatment. We also have recovery home beds, which are for people who are in early stages of recovery, but aren't able or ready to live independently and need some additional supports. We also provide outpatient care, various levels, everything from intensive day programming to individual services. In some communities, we do community outreach services. It depends on the region. Different providers do this in different regions. In the greater Chicago area, we're in more than 30 hospitals where we provide peers that help connect people with services, that are identified in the emergency room. And then in 7 other states, we actually do work in correctional settings. We have contracts with states and counties to provide treatment in their prison system or their county jail, where we actually provide various levels of treatment based on the need of the person there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the work that you all do. Is there anything else that you would hope people would take from this moment in seeing this type of settlement in this case, even though the fight may not be over?
Yeah, so there's a settlement, so monies will move to states, and then in every state there's a process that's been set up. In Illinois, there's a board that's been put together of people who will make decisions about the money, but we still need to make sure that those entities are hearing from the community. So get involved, let your local legislator know that it's important that settlement monies that they stay in those funding pools, and that money gets out the door to community-based organizations. And if you're someone who's really passionate about these issues, consider volunteering. There's a lot of good organizations that do this work in Illinois, and in every state. If you just look on the internet, you can find one, and you can volunteer to get involved, or you can simply make a phone call to a legislator to let them know that you think it's important that opioid settlement funds make it to the streets and to our communities, so that we can help people who are still struggling, and we can make sure that community-based organizations have the resources they need to help people when they walk through the door.
Well, so many people could use it. Thank you so much, Jeremy, again, for what you do year-round, and for joining me today to talk a little bit more about this major settlement and where we go from here.
Thank you for bringing attention to the issue. Every time people hear these stories, it encourages them to potentially reach out for help. So thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. 2:58 now. We'll be right back. Okay, everyone, it's 3 o'clock right now. We're lining up some new things for the 3 o'clock hour. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're anticipating for this hour. We have a couple of really interesting conversations dealing with maternal mortality and care for pregnant people. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to speak with Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the Congress today, so we'll see if we are able to pull her in for this conversation. We also have a conversation, and it's really a follow-up right now, that we're looking to have with a woman and her attorney. This case has really become a big talker online as the woman was discharged, a pregnant woman discharged from a hospital who ended up having the baby on the side of the road. So again, if we can get her and her attorney on the line and have that conversation with them, we will do that as well. But for the moment, let's go ahead and take a look at how things are lining up on Wall Street right now. You can see a lot. This is what are we on Tuesday? And it's 2 days of poor findings that we are seeing here as we begin this week. You can see just total red on the screen at this point in time. Stocks falling again today after tech shares retreated this morning, I'm seeing here. So the Dow Jones, you can see almost down 500 points at this point in time. And the S&P 500 also lost 0.7%. The NASDAQ went down 1%. So things are not looking good. The day isn't done, but it's not headed in the right direction. Now, one of the interviews that I was telling you we were trying to line up, we do have on board right now Mr. Lambert, and also this is attorney Cannon Lambert, and also Mr. and Mrs. Wells. Mercedes Wells is the mother that I was telling you about moments ago, who had a very unfortunate situation, but it's so good to see you looking well. And you know, for what it's worth, congratulations on the new baby to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Let me just maybe begin with you all as a couple. Tell me a little bit about, you know, the process of your pregnancy, getting to the hospital. Like, how were your 9 months and getting to the hospital? What was that like?
My 9 months was supportive. I have a good support system. You know, my family, they keep me strong. And my pregnancy was actually a pleasant pregnancy. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm 38 years old. This was my fourth child, giving birth to my fourth child, and it was a process, you know, and I had a good pregnancy. It was blessed, truly. Yeah.
It's wonderful to hear that. Had you delivered with the same hospital before?
Yeah, my previous child, right before Alina. Yes, that was the first time I delivered there in Franciscan.
Okay. So you were familiar with the hospital. You're not a first-time mom, so you were familiar with the process. Tell me, yes, when you got to the hospital and how things went at the hospital.
That's Selena crying right now. Okay. Yes. So when I got to the hospital, you said when I got to the hospital?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When I got there, I was met with, you know, blank stares from the staff. It was a experience for me that I had never had, actually going to a hospital and getting care. It was pretty stale and cold. I'm sorry, fix my camera.
It's okay.
It was pretty stale and cold from the staff. They called up to labor and delivery to let them know I had arrived, because I had called ahead and let them know I was coming. Mm-hmm. So they called up to the labor and delivery, and and they came and got me maybe 15 minutes later after asking me a couple things about my insurance and everything and checking me in. So when I went up to labor and delivery, I spent 5 hours going through my labor and dealing with my contractions. And when I got to the hospital, it started at 10 centimeters, then it went down to 8, then down to 6, and so on and so forth. By the time I was down to 1 centimeter apart, I told her, I'm like, I know I'm about to have this baby. However, you know, being checked and being told I was not in active labor, was astonishing. And for my nurse to say, okay, we're going to discharge you now, it was hurtful. And I was so upset, and I felt like they were treating me like an animal. So it was really hard to deal with.
Oh, my.
That, I'm having this, really good supportive pregnancy turning into a nightmare, trying to deliver my baby. I felt like I was treated like an animal. And no woman should have to go through this. And I was being treated like that by women of a different race, of course, but still, yet and still no woman should treat or be so insensitive of other women like I experienced.
Yeah, not at all. So you're discharged from the hospital, and give me a timeline of what happens next.
So I'm discharged from the hospital. We pull out of the parking lot. I yell over to my husband, like, I have to push. Like, it was that fast. I have to push. He helps me undress pretty much while he's driving with one hand. Moments later, I push. Her head is out, and that fast, Elena was here. So it was an ordeal that I couldn't imagine anyone going through.
Oh my. And it's Elena?
Elena, yes.
Elena. So Elena comes to be in the world in your vehicle. How far away from the hospital were you all?
We were about from the hospital we were going to. Yeah, we were like 25 minutes away from there. 30 minutes away from there. Okay. So it was a little drive.
So you all, when you went to, you didn't go to the hospital where you intended to receive care?
No.
Gotcha.
No. So we ended up because we were out, already. So we just went to the nearest hospital, which was Franciscan.
Yeah. And in leaving there, how far were you from Franciscan?
8 minutes.
8 minutes into your drive to the next hospital you delivered.
Oh, no. Yes. So 8 minutes, yeah. 8 minutes.
8 minutes into your drive from Franciscan, that's when you delivered Elena.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Attorney Lambert, let me go ahead and bring you in here. When you hear about this, when they bring this story to you, what were your thoughts?
I'm in disbelief, I think, like everyone. I think that pregnant women should be cared for. I think that women that are in active labor should be seen by doctors and attended to. I think that active pregnancy requires attendance from hospitals, and you shouldn't be kicked out. I am stunned at the fact that this happened. I'm dismayed at the fact that it happens continuously, like we know it happens, because it happened in Dallas shortly before this. We know that black women, generally speaking, are 3 times more likely than white women to experience problems and complications and even death during pregnancy. And so when you hear this sort of thing, it's disturbing, it's frustrating, it's infuriating, frankly. I think that a mother of 3 and now 4 is in a position to speak to whether or not her contractions are actually happening. And when contractions are happening 1 minute apart from one another, and a woman is telling you, I am in active labor and I think I'm about to have this child, I think that her voice should matter. I don't think that it did here, and that's troubling.
Yeah, it's very troubling, and it does speak to black maternal mortality on a greater scheme. I think when people hear those words, they're just words for a lot of people. But then when you literally listen to a story like this, they're not just words. These are real people. Let me read the release from Franciscan Health Crown Point president and their CEO, Raymond Grady. He says, "We are aware of the video and the concerns expressed on social media regarding the discharge of a pregnant patient from Franciscan Health Crown Point. We are grateful to learn from online and media reports that both mother and child are reportedly doing well. The video and the comments it has generated are deeply troubling. We understand the concern this has raised. The video is just one part of the information we are reviewing as a part of a thorough investigation into this alleged incident. While patient privacy laws make it difficult for us to comment more deeply, it is important to note that the videos and the narrative surrounding them do not accurately represent Franciscan Health Crown Point's Catholic healthcare ministry's values, which include respect for life, compassionate concern, and Christian stewardship. Our goal is to make everyone who walks through our doors feel the love of Christ, our actions. And the reality is disparities in healthcare outcomes exist, and Franciscan Health Crown Point strives to be a part of the solution, not the problem. We remain committed to meeting and exceeding all regulations and best practices for care, and we will take appropriate action based on the findings of our review." To the Lamberts, does that statement mean anything to you?
To the Wells family, I think it's important.
To the Wells, does that statement mean anything to you?
No, not at all.
It's not they're not taking accountability in no way with the statement, and no apology has been issued. So it's frustrating actually, because they're moving around the point of accountability.
And the actions speak louder than words. The actions was we was kicked out of the hospital. This is definitely unacceptable.
And Elena is beautiful. I'm so glad that we're getting to see her right there with you, Mr. Wells. I'm grateful she's here, and grateful, Mercedes, that you're here as well. This could have been a life-threatening situation.
Absolutely, and that's what it keeps popping up in my mind, and that's what I'm dealing with now. The trauma of what transpired and the after effect of thinking, oh my goodness, what if it didn't go well? What if something happened to me? What if I didn't make it? What if she didn't make it? So many what ifs and so many possibilities that they pushed me out on the street to deal with. Mm-hmm. It's very hurtful and confusing, and I know that it's happened other times of people, with people like me, and it has to stop. This can't continue to happen to us. Yeah.
Attorney Lambert, what's your response to that statement?
So I think platitudes create problems, and I think that they just issued a statement full of platitudes. They point to the notion that their internal processes prevent them from commenting more about this situation. And they also intimate that somehow this family wanting answers as to why this happened and whether or not this is acceptable to them is somehow going to invade their ability to investigate this situation. It doesn't. The reality of it is that we should be able to come to agreement on certain things. We should easily be able to agree that pregnant women who are in a position where they need care should get it. We should be in agreement that if you are in active labor, you shouldn't be kicked out of a hospital. We should be in agreement that if someone does something like that, they should be terminated. We should be in agreement that with respect to whether or not people are healthcare is withheld from someone based on their race, color, creed, national origin, sex, those things are unacceptable. And that's the type of thing that we're calling for a meeting with their administration so that we can have conversations with them about where they are in this process, whether or not they think this is acceptable. If they don't, where do they see the problems and how they're going to address those issues.
And of course, addressing the issues would help possibly another woman from going through the very same thing. What are you hoping for you all, the Wells family? What are you hoping for you all by addressing this head on?
A change of policies and procedures. This is unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. I mean, we need a change. I mean, we need a public apology. We need more. Have a meeting with us. I mean, we want something. It's not like, just sweep it under the rug, like it never happened.
Give us a call. Let us know your concern for how we were treated. Just something. That's what we expect. We expect policy changes. We expect everyone that was involved to be held accountable. We expect that all the things that hospitals say that they stand for to be addressed and to truly be given to every patient that comes through that door.
Yeah, you all have not been contacted in any way from Franciscan thus far?
No,
No way.
none.
No way.
Absolutely not.
How
We
did
are
Go ahead.
We are children of God.
We are children of God. Those actions that they showed were not children of God, not Christ-like type of company. We are our actions was Christ-like. I was very upset. My wife is very upset. My mother-in-law was very upset. Father-in-law was very upset. We held our composure because of the grace of God.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they want to have children too. They want to have more children. The notion that policy changes gets addressed is driven by the fact that they want to have more children.
Yes.
Attorney Lambert, has a formal suit been filed in this case?
So that's part of it. We're hoping that Franciscan doesn't make us have to go that route. It's not the desired course that this family is seeking to sue, just sue, to sue. What they're interested in seeing is change. And to be frank, someone to acknowledge, number one, that there were abject failures here, and that those individuals who participated in those failures be terminated. And I don't think those are unreasonable requests. Now, if things move towards us having no alternative, but to file suit in order to get their ear, then so be it. That would mean that they forced us into that. But to the degree that it is important that they address their own failures, and that we want to be a party to that, and we want to be a partner to that, we're hopeful.
Wells family, how are you handling the attention that this has received?
We understand that it comes with it. It can be overwhelming. However, this is just a part of, the situation, and we're handling it. We're dealing with it. It's a part of it.
Yeah, it is hard. It's definitely hard. I mean, we love all the support. We love all the ones that love us and what we're going through. We appreciate all the support. But we really wish this never happened. This is truly not a dream. This is definitely a nightmare.
Yeah. So did you all, once Elena came into the world, what happened then? Did you have to drive that other 25 minutes to the hospital?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it was a very stressful drive. I mean, I called 911, told them I'm coming, and it was a blessing that a community hospital was able to help us. And I mean, all the love and support for community. I mean, I just can't thank them enough. It was like 20 people waiting on us when we pulled up. And it was very beautiful at the time, for them to see all the love and support that we have from community hospital.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm so sorry. We are speaking under these conditions. I'm eternally grateful that I'm able to speak to you and to see Elena there with you as well. You all are a beautiful family, and I hope that you all will keep us updated on where things go from here. Attorney Lambert, thank you for joining us as well. And yes, all of you all, please keep us updated on what happens next, whether you get a phone call finally from them and let us know what was said, or if you do have to resort to a lawsuit, please keep us updated.
Thank you.
You all take care.
You too.
Thank you.
It's about 3:19. We'll be right back. 321, and a story that we have really been on all day here. Students at Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences started working at 7 a.m. this morning on their 13th annual Thanksgiving dinner. This is a farm-to-table dinner for 400 senior citizens in the 19th Ward. You are looking live inside of the magic that's happening here as these young people get ready to help so many seniors in our community. Do we have, let's see, Principal Bill Hook on the line right now? Okay, we don't have Principal Hook. I see right there 19th Ward Alderman Matt O'Shea. We're going to work on our connections here and see if we can bring both of them in and talk to them a little bit about what's going on, because we really want the details now that we're getting so close to them actually serving up the meal that they started working on so early this morning. It's 3:22. Let's take a quick break, see if we can work some things out, and we'll be right back. Just about 3:25 here. We have a renewed effort now to take you inside the preparation for Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences 13th annual Thanksgiving dinner, this farm-to-table dinner that should be taking place within just a few hours now. And I have Principal Bill Hook and 19th Ward Alderman Matt O'Shea. That doesn't look like a bill. Let's see. Alderman O'Shea, who are you standing next to?
I am with Noelle Coronado, who's the lead agricultural teacher here at Chicago Ag.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coronado, for joining us as well. In fact, let me start with you. Ms. Coronado, tell me how the day has gone. Walk me through. Our Gabriella Primus was with you all super early this morning.
Yeah, so our day started today at 6 a.m. We started prepping turkeys to get them in the oven between 7 and 7:30. Today we cooked 30 turkeys that we also raised. So really this dinner started in June when we got the turkeys in, raised them to market weight, and are serving them today to our seniors. We've made cornbread stuffing, pumpkin pie. We have some Eli's cheesecake we're serving today, cranberry sauce, gravy, and we've had about 120 kids involved in just that. And we'll have another 100 or so that are helping at the dinner once we open up at 5.
What does it mean to the students to see that full process?
It means the world to them. It's one of the most incredible events that we do here. It connects all 6 of our agricultural career pathways. You can hear how busy they are in the background. But each of our pathways has about 30 students and each play a role. So to see them all collaborate with each other and cooperate with the teachers to bring this dinner to life is an incredible thing for them. This is one of the times throughout the year when they're the most excited about being here.
Oh, I love it. And Alderman O'Shea, it's a beautiful display of generations helping each other. Talk a little bit about that happening in your ward.
So this is our 13th annual Thanksgiving dinner for our senior citizens. A wonderful collaboration between the students here at Chicago Ag and our senior citizens here throughout the South Side. I think it's important to note many of these seniors, this is their Thanksgiving. Next Thursday, they'll be home alone. But tonight they're with family, friends, and this wonderful campus of students.
Alderman O'Shea, did I hear correctly that you were peeling potatoes with the kids earlier today?
They try to keep me out of the kitchen. They just tell me to kind of stand off in the corner and smile, but I'll get my hands dirty.
I'm sure it's a great moment for them to be able to see you in that way as well. Ms. Coronado, I see that students of all abilities are included in this effort. Tell me a little bit about that.
They absolutely are. We are a very unique high school. We house a special education program, the largest in the city in a traditional high school. Inside of our building, we have over 100 students that are part of that diverse learner program. Today, to prepare for dinner, they raised herbs in an herb garden. They harvested some today, harvested some last week for the brine, and then they also put together all of the utensils that the seniors will be using today. So it really is, it takes a village internally here. All the kids are involved.
Mm-hmm. So 13 years, how has it changed over the course of time?
Well, certainly 2 of those years we had to take it on the road because of the pandemic, but for 13 straight years we have put together a Thanksgiving dinner for senior citizens. We figured it out today. It's more than 5,000 meals we've served.
Wow.
And we're looking forward to 13 more.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the response that you get from the seniors?
Oh, every year, all night during the course of the dinner and when they're leaving, the seniors talk about what a wonderful experience it's been and the kindness shown from the students here at Chicago Ag. I think it's so important to convey when so often we're reading about people complaining about things with the public school system. Mm-hmm. The Chicago High School for Agricultural High School is a diamond in the rough. We are so lucky to have this wonderful institution here on the South Side. And the work that the students do, celebrating Thanksgiving with more than 400 seniors tonight, it truly is heartwarming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is. Ms. Coronado, tell me just a little bit about the activity that's happening right behind you all right now.
Yeah, so if I turn around, we have students that are carving turkeys. We have students that have cut up sweet potatoes or yams, and they're putting those together as well to put into the oven. And we also have students that are cutting pumpkin pies that they all made. And we have some Eli's cheesecake that's being plated in the back as well.
This seems so unique that these students are getting an opportunity like this. But is you all school, is your program? Are there other places that have something like this? How rare is what we're seeing here?
There's nothing like this. No.
It's pretty rare.
We're lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're lucky to have been able to talk to the both of you today and to really see what these kids are doing. So the dinner is at 5 o'clock, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's 400 seniors. What happens during the dinner? Like, do the students serve them? Is it buffet style? What happens during the dinner?
Yeah, so it's buffet style, but the students are the servers. So we have 3 or 4 buffets that are set up that the seniors will be dismissed by table by the students to go get something to eat. And then we also have students that are walking around continuously, providing beverages, bringing desserts, clearing their places. So having conversations, you'll see a lot of conversations happening between the students and the seniors throughout the dinner.
Yeah, that part is so important, Alderman O'Shea. I'm sure, you see throughout your district, especially this time of year, but really year round, how everyday citizens can be a part of really brightening, especially a senior's life that may not interact with a lot of people on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Many of these seniors tonight they might see friends or neighbors they haven't seen since last Thanksgiving. And it's so heartwarming to see how much they appreciate the interaction one-on-one with the students. It's a wonderful experience to stand and observe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for what you both do. The city certainly appreciates it. It's awesome to be able to catch up with you all and to have witnessed how this has progressed throughout the day. And I can't wait to see some pictures and videos from when those seniors are smiling.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. All right, everyone. I hope that you're smiling as hard as I am. It's 3:32. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back, everyone. It's about 3:35 right now, and I want to go ahead and bring in Congresswoman Robin Kelly. There are several things that I want to talk to her about, so we really appreciate your time on what's been a very busy day.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let me just start off with the biggest vote that's been talked about for weeks on the Epstein files. Where did you stand on it, and what do you think about the result today?
Well, I've voted for, of course, the files to be open, but I think only one colleague voted no now that President Trump gave my colleagues on the other side permission to vote for the files to be open. Some of them were going to vote that way. Apparently, according to Rep. Massey, there were going to be Republicans that did vote for the files to be open, but now that President Trump gave his blessings, everybody voted for it except for one person.
Mm-hmm. We kind of dipped in and out of the proceedings there, and it seemed like, there was debate in terms of, either side saying, one side or the other obsessed over this vote, but for very different reasons. Talk about why you felt this vote was necessary.
Well, really, the president, if he really wanted to open the files, he could have done it himself. There was not the need for a vote, but it didn't seem like he was ever going to do that. So that's why there was a vote. But no, I think it's important. We need to know or not protect pedophiles in this country. That's why this vote was so important, because like I said, he wasn't going to open the files before. He had the right to do it, but apparently he's protecting people. That's what it seems like. But when he saw that so many Republicans were going to cross over or vote for the bill, that's why I said open them, because they were going to be opened anyway.
It was going to force the issue one way or another. Now, Republicans say that Democrats had 4 years under President Biden to make this happen. Why is it happening now?
I think that more and more information has come out, and the protections have come out, and that's why it's happening. It could have happened, maybe sooner, but that's what I think. Just more and more information has continued to leak out, trickle out, and the importance of just getting the files open and getting to the truth.
Mm-hmm. And the next point that when we dipped back in, there was the debate over a possible censure or a resolution to censure Congresswoman Plaskett. Can you talk about where things stand with that?
Well, it's actually going on as we speak. There's a debate on the floor, and we think this is absolutely ridiculous, just a political ploy. When and she explains it herself. She just finished speaking about what happened, and she's a lawyer. She's been a prosecutor, and as she said, she's not going to jeopardize, her license for anybody. She was a mom with 5 kids, working full time, going to get her law degree. So this is just, political theater and nonsense that they're trying to put forward. And, the other interesting thing that Lita Jeffries just brought up, that there's been 3 censors, LaMonica, my colleague, LaMonica MacGyver, my colleague Ilhan Omar, and now my colleague Stacey Plaskett. And they have something in common, or 2 things in common. And it's just a disgrace that they're doing the things they're doing. There's this, we need to work on affordability and healthcare and things like that. The government, just reopened, and we're talking about things like this.
And I want to get to that. I'll ask you just one more question on this. You said she explained what happened herself. What was her explanation?
He was her constituent, and
speaking of Jeffrey Epstein,
she texts back and forth to many constituents. This is before she was aware of any of the things that that came out about him. And they said, "Well, you took money from him." She sent money back that she took, not back to him, but back to organizations that deal with abused women and children. She'll give a better explanation. I don't want to speak for her, but it made the world of sense.
Sure. And of course, they were bringing up that congressional hearing in February of 2019 where she was texting back and forth with them. Did she address that?
Yeah, she talked about, I didn't hear everything because I was on another Zoom, but that's what I'm saying. She's the best person to get it from. But what I could hear from the other things she said made sense.
Okay, let me move off of what's been happening on the floor today. And you mentioned affordability and health care. So I want to transition things over to the shutdown. You are currently running for Senator Durbin's seat. And Senator Durbin was one of 8 lawmakers that voted for the shutdown to open, or for the government to reopen, for the shutdown to end. Did you agree with his vote?
No, I didn't agree with that vote. I didn't agree with what came over to the House. I was vehemently a no. So no, I did not agree.
Mm-hmm. What did you feel needed to happen?
Well, I think as I've traveled the state and spoke to my current constituents and hopefully constituents to be, many of them told us to hang in there. I mean, even my staff didn't get paid, on October 30th, October 31st, but, they supported, what we were doing, that 22 million people on December 31st will see, high premiums. I've heard from people now whose premiums have gone up. So people understood what we were doing. They said to hang in there, and that's what we were doing. In the House, Democrats, we are still fighting. Lita Jeffries has a bill to extend the Affordable Care tax credits for 3 years. So, and we have a discharge petition trying to get as many votes as possible. And there are Republicans that already said in the past that they thought they should be extended. So let's see if they put their money where their mouths are.
Yeah, and so as we go into this latter portion of the year, obviously Democrats had a great night for the 2025 elections, but there's that setup for 2026. What do you think this shutdown is setting us up for?
Well, I mean, I think that not just the shutdown, but what's been going on since Donald Trump has been elected, he has not been for the working family. He's been for the well-off and the well-connected, as you see by the tax cuts, trillions of dollars for millionaires and billionaires. There's been no, affordability hasn't been anywhere found. The tariffs that my farmers are suffering from, the withholding of SNAP, and no shutdown has that ever been done before. So I think that, the American people are seeing what's really going on. And the shutdown happened before the official shutdown. 200,000 people had already lost their jobs. So things started happening right after he was elected. It wasn't just with the shutdown. Things have been happening all along.
The president says it's a Democrat shutdown.
Of course he would, but he's the president. He's a Republican. Thune is a Republican, and Speaker Johnson is a Republican. They own all three chambers, so I don't know how they could say that.
Republicans call it a win because they stuck together. Looking at the Democratic Party, do you see unity moving forward?
We have been very unified. These members of the Senate did vote the way they voted, but I still think that we're very unified. I mean, I can, speak for the House, and like I said, we're pushing forward. We have not given up. I feel like the people are with us. I heard from so many people that they did not like what happened in the Senate. But, there's going to be disagreements, but we all know there's one goal, winning in November 2026. And since Trump has been president, we have won so many races, even in places that he won. I mean, to think that we won in Mississippi and we won in Georgia and all that we won in Pennsylvania, we know we're on the right track.
But speaking of unity, what was your sense on the House vote to reprimand Representative Garcia, even though he's not running in 2026, but it is surrounding what he did to, what some people say crown a successor?
Mm-hmm. Well, people have their different opinions, and remember, Democrats are not monolithic, and we represent all kind of districts. We have from the very, very, very progressive to the blue dogs of the blue dog, and that's how people voted. I didn't vote with that. I voted on with Chewy, but people are going to vote like they think that they need to vote.
Well, one thing that obviously Representative Garcia has been very front and center on has been immigration enforcement here in the city of Chicago, and you have as well. I want to talk to you about being one of the 61 members of the Democratic Women's Caucus who sent a letter to demand the release and investigation of pregnant, postpartum, and nursing women currently detained by ICE. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. My office is leading the letter with the Democratic Women's Caucus. I've been big on maternal mortality and morbidity, period. And ICE and DHS need to follow their own rules that they're not supposed to detain pregnant or postpartum women. And they're breaking their own rules. We're hearing horror stories of how the women are treated. We're hearing stories of miscarriages. We're hearing stories of them not getting the treatment they need to get or what they're being fed. I mean, it's horrible.
When you say hearing stories, I mean, the Trump administration says that they have detained about 4,000 people as a part of Operation Midway Blitz. Do you have any idea of like a percentage of that would be in this category?
That's why we wrote the letter, to try to get more information from them and to get more stats from them. But we are hearing stories, and the thing is, even in Broadview, I've been there outside, of course, because they're not letting us in because they said it's really not a detention center, even though they're holding so many people there. When Kristi Noem came and she had to go to the bathroom, she herself didn't even go to the bathroom in the facility that she oversees. They had to drive her about a mile away to go to Broadview's Village Hall. So if it was so sanitized, so, in good shape and all of that, why didn't she just go to the bathroom there? So she wouldn't even do that. So we know that, and not just from women, just from multiple people, about the conditions in Broadview.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your perspective on where Operation Midway Blitz stands now. You all are pushing for this. We're also seeing agents leave the area finally, but the Trump administration says it's still not over.
Sure. No, yeah. Some of them may be leaving the area, but they have traumatized the Chicagoland area. I mean, and they've also hurt the Chicagoland area, beside morally, economically, people not going to work, scared to send their kids to school, people at work and being dragged from work. So, they're hurting those people. They're hurting, business owners. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I just think that he has this thing about Chicago and about Illinois, and he just doubled down since he couldn't get the National Guard here. He really doubled down on ICE. And we're still hearing stories. And, my district was the district that the helicopter landed, with Gestapo tactics, people drug out of their homes.
South Shore.
Where the car accident happened. That was my district where the 2 people got hurt. They took a mom away from her 19-year-old daughter and 16-year-old who has mental capacity of an 11-year-old. The 19-year-old had to come home from college to take care of the daughter. They didn't know where she went. We found her, and my colleague in El Paso helped out. She's an immigration lawyer, thank goodness.
Wow.
But the way they are treating people is just abhorrent. There is no excuse. He said he wanted to arrest the criminals, but he's arresting everybody if you have a little melanin in your skin, and also American citizens also.
What do you think will be the long-lasting impact of what has taken place in Chicagoland, in your district especially?
I do think there's going to be mistrust. The ICE folks have their mask on. We don't know who they are. The way they advertise, for ICE individuals, $50,000, signing bonuses and things like that. We don't know who these people are. So people are going to have a great mistrust. And frankly, I don't blame them.
And as I'm seeing from your release about the letter that went forward regarding pregnant women or those who are in custody right now, you mentioned incidents that have taken place or hearing reports of things in Illinois, Louisiana, and Georgia. What do you say to the people of North Carolina where an Operation Charlotte's Web just began?
I just spoke to my colleague, Alma Adams, and who represents that area. I hope that people speak up, and how we have the whistles here and people looking out for each other and warning each other. I hope that people will pull together and do that in Charlotte also. I have no doubt that they will. They have agencies down there also, but we need to look out for each other. And what is going on, there's just no excuse for, and the trauma that they are bringing through these neighborhoods. And again, arresting, Americans also. It's not just, undocumented. They don't care. They don't care. When you see the building that they came into in my district, the doors knocked in, and I was there, it was just ridiculous. And like I said, traumatizing all the people that live there, not just, the undocumented. And what they said they were looking for, they did not find.
Let me ask you just a few more questions. So do you think that, going back to your letter and even talking about the people of North Carolina, do you think that these operations have not just a focus on melanin, but are women maybe disproportionately affected by what's going on?
Well, I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's more women or more men or whatever, but the thing is, a lot of times, as women are the the caretakers. So like the mother I know, they took her away, and the kids didn't know we found her, but her children didn't know where they were. And like she had a tamale stand. That's how she fed her kids. That's how she had money, and they took all of that away. So we do like to say, as women are affected, America is affected. Because women are still the caretakers. Hold the family together. But a lot of men are the breadwinners of their family, and they're being taken away too. It's just destroying men, women, and children and neighborhoods.
And so you showed up, I remember seeing a press conference with you right outside of Broadview, and several other things with Mayor Katrina Thompson there. What do you do next to help rebuild in some of these areas like South Shore, where the doors are broken and all of those things from that building where there was a raid? What do you do to try to help communities rebuild after agents do leave?
Well, to be honest with you, I just was speaking to one of my colleagues today, and also to the mayor of Broadview. I was in a meeting with her. I would like to see us do something where we give some money back, because she has had to spend so much money. She's a village of 8,000 with 25 police officers who I'm sure have had to work overtime because of what was going on in the village, and the things that they've had to do and put up with, and deal with. That's more. They didn't ask for it, and it was more than they were used to, but they've done a really good job. She's done a really, really good job. But I just think maybe some time will heal, but also as a federal government, we need to have immigration reform, period. And so in so many different ways, whether they're dreamers, undocumented that have been here for a long time, we need to do our part also to help this situation.
Absolutely. There is a federal component to it all. What we're just seeing, in our streets here locally, there is a major federal component to it all. So I've asked you about the Epstein files. I've asked you about the government shutdown and immigration enforcement. Moving into 2026 in the midterm elections, what do you think will be the top issues for voters?
I still think it'll be around how expensive it is to live in the United States. I still think it'll be around health care.
Okay. All right. Congresswoman Robin Kelly, thank you so much for your help in this discussion and taking time again. I know it's a busy day for you. Taking time. It is not lost on me how much time you took here to chat with me on this day. Thank you so much. And please keep us updated.
I sure will. Thanks for having me.
Okay. All right. You take care. 3:54. We'll take a quick break and then we'll close things out. All right, welcome back, everyone, as we give you a live look outside. Yes, it is an icky day. Oh, my. And it's really been like this most of the day. Obviously, yesterday, we at least had some points of sunshine in the day, but today it's just really been pretty gloomy outside. It's about 45 degrees out there right now. It feels like 35 degrees because we've had that cloud cover all day, but things could be worse, right? Things could be worse. And I think that we're on a rebound as we go forward. So let's hold on to that and hope for a rebound, at least, as we move forward in the week. Listen, we have had quite a few things that we have covered today. We've had some disturbing stories. I mean, we talked about dog abuse in Kenosha, 27 dogs that were taken out of a home. We talked to a mother who was discharged from the hospital actively in labor, who had to go into to actual have birth on the side of a road in her truck. But we also talked about some really heartwarming things as well. Those kids, students at the agricultural high school that have spent the entire day working together, preparing a meal from farm to table for 400 seniors in our community. I hope that you'll hold on to that as well, that there are many good things that are happening in our community all around, and every day we strive to be able to kind of balance things out and bring you a bit of both. Let me tell you about a couple of things coming up in the next...
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Right now, a Florida community is outraged. Parents are rallying behind a mother and her son who were brutally attacked by elementary school students.
And a woman set on fire while riding a Blue Line train, what police say led up to that attack.
Also, Representative Chuy Garcia is censured by the U.S. House. We'll talk about the allegations against him.
And has sparked outrage.